Hey guys, and welcome to a brand spanking new episode of the Fathergamer podcast. In this episode, we interview Ben Kreger and his new Kickstarter campaign for The Black Suit of Death. It's an awesome comic. Also, we talked to Tom Beardsmore of Coatsink about Augmented Empire, and we have our last discussion about E3 2017. So sit back, guys, strap in, pop some popcorn, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Fathergamer podcast.
So, first up to bat is Ben and his Kickstarter for a brand new, actually, issue number 2 of his comic Black Suit of Death. You just have to say Black Suit of Death. It just sounds like you should say it that way. It's a great comic. This is a great team working on this comic. And Ben is a really nice guy. Guys, I really, really, really think you should check out his Kickstarter. You can look at the show notes, and we have all the links, all that kind of stuff. During the interview, the great thing is, though, he's a dad, and I'm a dad. And so, of course, everybody in our families decided to interrupt us every couple minutes. So his kids, my kids, like every one of my kids at some point or other interrupted during the conversation, and even Gravity interrupted, and he dropped his phone. All of that's cut out right now, for the most part, but it's really fun sometimes to I don't know, fun's not the right word, but sometimes it's very difficult to do our passion projects and our jobs, but nothing's as cool as being a dad. So. And like I said, this is a really good guy, and really, really highly suggest checking out his stuff. So here's the interview.
Okay, I'm here with Benjamin Kreger. You have a Kickstarter going right now. Can you tell the fine people listening all about it?
Sure. My name is Benjamin Kreger. I go by Ben. I've been doing comics for almost 10 years now, just independent stuff, little things. And last year we had my business partner and we co-wrote a comic book called The Black Suit of Death. And we had a really successful Kickstarter last year, and so this year we're doing it again for the next issue.
So tell me about the actual the comic itself.
Like, what is it? Why does it have an obnoxiously long title?
Yeah, I like the long titles. Long titles, I mean, they're awesome. Sometimes
I do that too much though. It's crazy. So like my company's my comic imprint's name is Warrior Innkeeper Creative. Mm-hmm. So that's nice and long, So the Black Suit of Death, it's always been difficult to describe real clearly. So this year we learned that what our book is categorized as is a cross-genre book.
Ooh.
So to put it real simple, or as simple as we can, it's the story of a depressed college student who stumbles upon the Grim Reaper's suit and becomes the modern-day Grim Reaper. To expand on that, the suit itself is actually an alien biomechanoid suit of armor that was created to kill two birds with one stone on a planet called Utopia 9. They were suffering an explosion in their population as well as a severe energy crisis. So this mad scientist named Dr. Sietzen invented the Black Suit of Death to harvest the life energy of those unworthy of the utopia they had built. And of course, being a utopia, they can't stand for something that terrible and horrifying, so they banish him and his creation to, where else? Planet Earth, nice and barbaric planet. And so...
Wow, it does. It does bend. It is cross genre. I do like sci-fi, a little bit of horror, a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
We used to describe it as a satirical sci-fi horror comic book.
There you go with long titles.
But that's a long title. It's a mouthful to say.
Yeah.
So we like saying, well, it's a cross-genre sci-fi story about the Grim Reaper suit. We like to point out that there's no supernatural stuff in this world. So it's strictly sci-fi, and I guess that's where we attempt to be original in telling a Grim Reaper story.
Okay. So on the Kickstarter itself, what can backers expect? What can they get? Anything cool? Any?
Well, we had what I think are two coolest reward levels. One of them sold out really, really fast. We had 18. What do you call it? Opportunities. Yeah, so we had 18 opportunities to get your likeness put in the comic book and be a character that gets killed by the Black Suit of Death. And I could not believe how fast those went. That was amazing. It's like, yes, kill me in a comic. I'm like, that's awesome. And then so unfortunately those are all gone because there was only 18 of them, but that was a big number to begin with. Usually cameos are like 3 if you're lucky. But our second one that we are really excited about, and I'm really excited about it because our artist Dexter Wee, who draws the comic book, he's best known for a webcomic called Kira Te Ipsen, which is in its final months, I think. And he's also done an award-winning graphic novel called Patriot One, and that won an IPPY award. I forget what IPPY stands for, but it's pretty cool that we have an award-winning artist on our book. And so so there's 3 issues currently. There's the Prelude book, which tells the story about the mad scientist. And then there's book 1, and that's the one that we ran a Kickstarter for last year, and that sets up the modern day Grim Reaper tale. And this year is the first time that I'm purchasing the original art pages from Dexter Wee so that we can use them as rewards for the Kickstarter. And what he's doing this year is he's kind of taking control of everything as far as art goes. So he's doing the pencils, the inks, and he is hand painting every single page with speaking of cross genres, he's doing mixed media. So he's using watercolors, ink, Copic markers, and colored pencils, and then he'll scan it in and touch it up and add some special effects via Photoshop. So the final pages that'll end up in the book are going to be like just conglomeration of techniques that he's studied over the years, and he feels he's finally perfected enough to be willing to hand paint the comic himself, which is really cool. Yeah, so we have the first few pages on the Kickstarter page right now, so you can check out his painting. And the reward that we have, you get everything that we're giving away for this Kickstarter, plus an original hand-painted page of comic book art. And I'm really excited to be able to offer that. And really, there's a part of me that like I would love to sell out of that one because that one's limited to 18 too. But I really want to get one of those pages as well. Because I've been doing comics forever, but I think I only have like 1 or 2 pages of original art from my own books. So,
well, that's the thing though about any time you create something, or you're part of something, you do want that tangible thing. Like I know, like I'm personally working on something right now. And the little things I keep kind of like, oh, I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna like. You want to hold on to those memories because it's so amazing. Right. Especially, I don't know. Is Black Death your creation?
So Black Suit of Death. This is kind of like a 20 years in the making. And so a long time ago, back when I thought maybe I'd be an actor or a filmmaker, my friends and I made some short home videos and whatnot, and it really began with a parody of the movie Scream. It was really popular back in the day. And so we did this parody of Scream called Scream Sugar Daddy Scream. And it's not pornographic at all, despite the title. It was actually named after an X-Men villain toy. So back in the day, if you remember, you guys read X-Men at all?
Yes. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure. So there was that spin-off after I think it was Age of Apocalypse, where they brought in the clone of Cable, Nathan Summers.
Right.
And he had his own title called X-Man. And there was a villain in that book called Sugar Man. And back in the 90s, Toy Biz was making toys of every single character.
Right.
So this Sugar Man got made into a toy, and he does this like real evil laugh if you push a button on his back. And so we used that laugh as the killer's laugh in our Scream parody. And thus the title Scream Sugar Daddy Scream. For whatever reason, I got the name wrong when I was coming up with that obnoxious title. But we moved on from that. We made this parody, but we didn't have a ghost face mask like in Scream. We had just a apocalypse cloak and a faceless mask. And so that played our killer. And we saw something like maybe we could do something more with this guy. And eventually I came up with the name Black Suited Death. And my buddy, who is now my co-writer and business partner, Edward Ellsworth, and I put this loose script together for this longer film, and we shot that. And we liked it a lot. And they're going, well, why don't we make this, a little more bigger budget? And so we went back and wrote an even longer script and shot pieces of that. But this is all happening during that time period where you're leaving high school. Yeah, you and your friends are either going to college or moving on with your lives. So that final version of this idea of ours, this no-budget filmmaking that we're doing, was never completed.
Mm-hmm.
So jump 15 years later, I fall into comics. It's kind of a career I'd always wanted. I drew comic books when I was a kid and everything. But here I was actually starting a career in comic books, and I call up Edward and say, we struggled to make these movies back in the day because we didn't have any money. We couldn't buy sets or costumes. Well, I'm in comics. In comics, you draw the costumes and you draw the sets. You don't need a big budget to tell the story you want to tell. And so we talk about it. We go over the old scripts again and laugh and, enjoy nostalgia and everything. But then he comes to me with this little script for what ended up being the prelude and interview. Yes. Doing one of those weird things. Yes. That's the 12-year-old.
Of course. Hey, this is the Fathergamer podcast.
It is.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah.
So I got lost. So Edward brought back. He did like a Star Wars scroll type intro to this idea he had, right? And that put the science fiction spin on this. That this, it was a mad scientist on this planet called Utopia 9, and it just kind of evolved from there. And next thing we know, we're hunting for artists, and then we're getting the book drawn, and all of a sudden we're comic creators. And it's been a wild ride.
It's crazy when that moment though, where it's kind of like you have an idea that sparks happen, and then all of a sudden it's its own entity, and you kind of almost along for the ride.
Yeah, a lot of the times it feels like that, especially when the characters start talking in your head and you think maybe you're going crazy.
Well, that's probably true, but we all have that moment. It does fill in that for that first moment that you see what you've been writing, you see it on page, or you see it created in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
it's like, because you're a father, you understand this. It's almost like having another kid. Like,
it is. You feel very protective of the characters, and you want to treat them right. You want to respect what you've created. So like when you're doing like multiple issues like us, like every time we finish one issue and we go, oh, we're ready to do the next one, we just start really just picking at the script and just diving in, going, are we doing this right? Are we doing it justice? Right. And we, for writers, I like to think that we work pretty hard. Maybe we're slackers. I don't know. We'll find out when people start reading the stuff. But
well, so far everything I've seen looks really cool. I do have a few questions though. You mentioned that the main character, Black Suit, he's got his real name was Ed, right?
Ed Grimes.
Ed Grimes. Okay.
Yeah.
You said he was depressive. Is that anything from you guys? I mean, do y'all really get into that? In fact, he's depressed.
Yeah, we dive into it pretty deep in the first issue, and that that comes from I'm a veteran with a couple tours in the Middle East under my belt, and so I got a touch of the PTSD, and depression is definitely one of my greatest battles. And Edward, he's battles depression as well, and so being able to put that burden on our character, which, as cruel as maybe that might sound, it's helped us battle our own demons. It's
right.
I like to call it comic therapy. I didn't coin that term. Actually, someone that interviewed me 5 years ago did, but I think it's true. Working on comics and being creative has really helped keep me sane. It helps calm me. It puts things in perspective, puts things in my control, and that's the biggest thing about PTSD is you feel not in control of things.
Right.
And being able to fictionalize those feelings and put them into the character, it's a way of taking back that control that you lose to these mental illnesses.
It's often hard to describe to people what's going on when you have something like that, and so it's a great way to be able to let other people kind of that insight as well, to understand what's going on with you and with people that have that. And so I applaud that. Like, anytime any creators get real, essentially, like that, something that I highly we've in my personal life there's been lots of stuff with mental health, and I've dealt with it a lot myself, and so it's always great to see people, it's kind of brave, honestly, to be able to come out and say stuff like that. So thank you.
Yeah, when I wrote, there was a couple scenes in the book that we weren't sure we're going to keep because they were so truthful.
Right.
Not that it was a true story that we were telling, but the scenes itself, they held so much truth, so much personal weight that it was like, do I want to share this with the world? But I think the benefit of putting something out there like that others can relate to, and maybe this comic can not only help Ed and I battle our demons, our shadows, but maybe it'll help someone else. And I feel that entertainment can be helpful in many ways. And so we're hoping that maybe ours will strike a chord with people and give them hope, or maybe there isn't any.
Entertainment is definitely the spoonful of sugar for a lot of medicine. So I mean all the way from racial equality to sexism to mental illness. It's especially sci-fi. I mean, come on now. I mean,
yeah,
stuff in. So let everybody know where they can find the Kickstarter and
Yeah. So we
and
made it.
let's fund this thing.
That'd be great. We're at 66% right now, so that's pretty exciting. We got 14 days left, and we've made it really easy for people to find us. So Kickstarter will give you one of them shortened websites, or you can type in the long one. Well, we decided, since Edward is also a web designer, we're going to make our own website name and redirect you to the Kickstarter. And so that is fund.blacksuitofdeath.com. So it's fairly easy, hopefully.
It's not a long title. It's not a long title, so you guys.
It's not as long as like a Kickstarter link. But,
no, it's great. We'll make sure to put everything in our show notes, links and all that kind of stuff to that, and as well as your socials. That way, people can find you and follow you as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Also, if you go to justblacksuitofdeath.com, and if you sign up for our email list, we will deliver to you a PDF or CBZ file of Black Suit of Death Ides of March, which is the prelude story that starts the whole thing.
Awesome.
And so, you don't just have to go to Kickstarter to get something cool. You can go to our website as well.
So, Ben, it has been awesome to talk to you. You know what? We'll make sure anything you guys do, we're going to push. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So thank you very much. Thank you for being on the show. And again,
thank you for having me.
Fun this. Okay. So thank you very much, Ben.
Thank you.
Like I said, he's a really cool guy. Make sure, check out that website, check out the links, and help these guys make issue number 2 of what sounds to be a really great series. Next up is Tom Beardsmore from Coatsink. He's pretty much almost a regular cast member at this point. He's been on several times. He's his studio, Coatsink, I mean, they make more than VR, but they understand VR probably better than most other companies that are doing VR right now. They're one of the first companies that I met that seems to that understood it almost at the beginning, and Augmented Empire. I got to play some of it. It's really fun. I really hope you guys check it out as well. It's really cool, and it's a very good use of VR that isn't the typical first person. So here's the interview with Tom. Okay, I'm with Tom Beardsmore. He's been on the show just a few times.
Just a few times.
Just a few times, and we're talking about the stuff that you guys are bringing this year, or brought to E3 2017.
Yeah.
What do you guys have this year?
So we're just showing behind closed doors previews of our new turn-based tactical RPG for Gear VR, which is Augmented Empire, and an update to our Rift and Gear VR game Esper 2, which brings touch controls into the game.
I really like the touch controls, by the way. Yeah, that was really nice.
Yeah, it works well.
When is the patch for that?
The patch will probably be between now and August. We're just trying to find a decent slot. We need to talk to Oculus about that. Both games are funded and published by Oculus Studios.
Okay.
So, yeah.
About the first game we were talking about, the Augmented, yes. How you played the game.
Yeah,
it's a little different than most VR games.
Yeah.
You want to get into that right quick?
Sure, yeah. So it blends first-person kind of RPG storytelling with third-person kind of isometric turn-based tactical RPG mode. So you do most of the action by looking down at a diorama of the city, or a diorama of parts of the city where your team are based, You're controlling them. You're using powers in a similar way that you might experience games like XCOM, Divinity. You're leveling them up as you go through the game. You're also having RPG-style interactions with dialogue trees and leveling systems. But yes, most of the game is played through that diorama perspective, and it's very comfortable in VR.
It actually really is.
Yeah, and quite immersive as well. It's quite nice to sort of be able to look at that.
It was like having your toys.
Yeah.
Just putting out your toys.
Yeah.
Do what I say, my bidding. I really, really like that. So, when can we expect that maybe?
So that'll be due shortly after E3. We'll be putting an announcement or a release trailer out. I would expect it in the next month or so.
So this is your second E3, right?
Yes, this is. I think we had games at the previous E3, but there was nobody from Coatsink here because they were just being shown by Oculus.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you think this year?
It's really cool. Yeah. We're doing all of our stuff off-site, not on the E3 show floor or anything, because it's a little too busy there for us.
It's a little busy this year.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the conferences so far. Lots of really cool games coming out.
Anything you're excited for? I thought we really get to play many games sometimes.
Yeah, I doubt I'll get to play any of them, but I'm certainly very excited for Metro Exodus as a big Metro fan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that kind of game. I'm a huge fan of the atmosphere. Actually, atmosphere created in a lot of sort of Eastern European projects. I feel like I really love the Witcher games as well. I don't know, just something about the atmosphere they create.
It's a different kind of, I wouldn't just say fairy tale because it's Witcher, but it's a different kind of way of telling stories.
It's like really dark fairy tale.
Exactly.
It just works really well for me. I quite like the look of Anthem. I hope it's not like Destiny.
And next year we're going to be entering Destiny, Bungie next, so that'll be awesome. No, the thing I understand with Destiny why people have issues. I mean, the grind, it kind of feels light of what maybe we want. Especially, I know you're probably a story person because you like Witcher, and it just felt kind of light that way. But that game looks really interesting.
I love BioWare, so
it's. Me too. Yeah. I think we all do. It's like kind of in our DNA. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you. And I hope you have a great E3 and a great flight back. Next up, Mike, Matt, and I sit down and talk about our E3 2017 experiences, some of the great behind-the-scenes stuff that went on, and some of the games that we played. It was a really interesting year. Kind of different for me this year, especially now that I've announced that I'm making a game. So I'm kind of straddling that fence a little bit on being a developer and still doing this show, and it's opening a lot of doors, and it was been really fun. So guys, take a listen.
Dude, I actually, after the Sony press conference, when I was standing around waiting for you, which I found out very recently, like from your pictures, that you were upstairs where I was downstairs, which I don't know how that worked out. But because I was even standing in the second row waiting for you, and I had no idea where you were, and then suddenly they were about to start, and I was like, well, crap, okay, and my phone was gonna die soon. So
I was bummed at first. Okay, you know what? Last year when we went in, and we were down in that area where we ate food, and they had the Ferris wheel. Well, that's where they ushered me into, because I went up and said, "Hey, here's my thing." They're like, "Okay, go on in."
Yeah, I spent most of the entire time at the pre-show looking around for you. I could not find you anywhere, and you were so
confused.
You were like, I'm by the white wall, and I'm like, wait a second, white wall, and I'm looking around, and all the walls are black, and I'm like, okay, so obviously there's going to be one white wall. So I'm looking around, and there's one place that's roped off, and there's a white wall that goes upward, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's where he is. And I go over there, and there's a security guard, and he's like, yeah, there's nothing up there, you can't go up there. I'm like, well, crap.
Well, I started getting pictures of other press that were playing games.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was the part I'm like, whoa! I don't think I'm in the right area. And then you were messaging me about the wall, and I was like, okay, I think I'm like it was starting to sink in at that point. And then when it's like 10 of them came and said over, I was like, okay, I'm clearly not in the right area, but I'm not going to say anything at this point.
That's fine.
And I was no, I think my experience was, well, this E3 for me was like just a very unique E3. Like just, even the Ubisoft thing, like, having that personal incident going on, and then I didn't get to go into the actual, like I saw everybody sitting down and I had to go sit in the lobby. Stuff went down at home, blah, blah, blah. I was upset. I turn around and freaking Miyamoto's there. Like,
wow.
I can't, like, I still to this day don't entirely know. I haven't watched the press conference. I just kind of know what they showed. Yeah. Like, that's the problem, though. It's like.
See, that was another thing, too. Like, I was at Ubi, and I'm waiting for you. I'm looking around. I'm even, like, in, like, the area where their food courts are, and I was thinking, or the food trucks were, and I was, like, looking around, thinking I was maybe going to see you. And, like, nothing. And then, like, my phone was going to die, like, the entire day. And, like, so I'm like, well, shit, okay, maybe I'll find him in, like, the little gallery, or whatever the hell that theater was. And I go inside, I'm like, some bitch, where the fuck is Aaron? And then the whole place was a clusterfuck afterward, and I was like, I gotta go. This place is crazy.
Yeah, I got a personal. Unfortunately, when you're there, life doesn't stop at home. So, but they had I know, but they had New York style pizza. So I grabbed those. I grabbed 2 of those and was shoving them down my face, and it was really cool. Like the whole behind the scenes, like I got to watch everything and just kind of see everything executed behind the scenes, because a lot of stuff was happening in the lobby. And it was really cool, though, the incident with Miyamoto. It was kind of a nifty moment. And then,
so you and I both had like a little thing with Miyamoto. Just so you know, I didn't tell you my part.
No.
So I got to Ubi, and I go into the back. Trying to go to where the food truck was.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
Yeah, so like, but you know how like where the gate was, and across from it was like double doors, I guess, like for the back entrance, right?
Right.
Well, a black SUV came up as I'm about to cross, and they kind of ushered us all to stop. And they like opened up the door, and they put a black cover over to try and like hide who it was. And what was funny, and I guess it's kind of messed up to say this, but they didn't have it up very high.
Yeah.
So like I just see him walk by. I'm like, holy shit, is that Miyamoto?
Just a floating head. Yeah.
That's funny.
It was funny when he got in there. They were clearing out the lobby, because I'm guessing this is going to be their huge surprise for the press conference. And I clearly heard everyone lose their shit on the inside, so I knew it was.
So you weren't even inside?
I was in the lobby, and that's where they brought him in through. Was the like you?
Yeah. I remember, like, because he came in through my side, the side that I was on,
and that was the area that he came in through. So.
So you weren't in the theater at all during the entire time?
The entire time, like I walked in there and I had to take a phone call. Plus, it was super crowded.
Yeah, it was fucking packed.
And so I sit in the lobby, and stuff was going on. Has some banking issues. So like I said, life was going on. Yeah, and I was upset. I was visibly upset. And
was it the Uber bullshit?
Yeah, it was the Uber bullshit. I'm officially I'm a Lyft man now.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you converted.
I had points. That was the reason.
I know.
But I turned around and I was visibly emotional, and I got a tap on the chest and his thumbs up. He walked over, he grabbed a gun, like the gun he went on stage with. They go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shh, filled up the entire thing with smoke, and he walked on out to the audience.
You know what's funny is that they filled it up with smoke from your end, but by the time he got through the audience, he didn't have any smoke.
Well, it was almost like he disappeared like a ninja. It was amazing. So
that's funny. That's funny.
I was just like, okay, that happened. And I just remember looking over one of the Ubisoft people, and they were just like, okay. It's like the same thing a couple of years ago when we saw him at the Unravel.
Yeah. That's right.
Like,
well, you saw him. I did see him.
Oh, that's right. When he was like introducing Yarny to
Yoshi.
And everybody was just like, okay, that's just Miyamoto.
This is happening.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
And then I saw
It's funny, like you and I, like we see all the Nintendo guys. Like every time we go to E3, we just see the Nintendo guys. Like you remember last year before E3 even started, the producer of Zelda was there.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it AG? Is it AG?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the moment I decided from now on, if I want to take a picture, I'm taking a picture.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I'm not going to wait. I'm just like, you know what? You never know what's going to happen. So
yeah.
During the press conference, this is the other funny, cool / amazing thing that I really liked. Besides the Beyond Good and Evil 2 trailer, but the
Skull and Bones, that one stole
Skull and Bones looks good. But one of the big producers for Assassin's Creed. Yes, Ball and Scones. He came off stage and was in the lobby. And at this point, I think they thought I was working for Ubisoft.
Clearly.
They just left me alone. Like everybody else was cleared out, and I was just talking to the staff and all this kind of stuff, just kind of walking around. And he goes right off stage. He goes to Skype his family. And this is probably one of the most touching, like as far as being a father and game developer now and working on my own stuff, but also being away from your children. He Skyped his family, and instantly you heard his kid just like, "Wah!" like lose it, completely lose it. And it turned out that the kid had his little girl had seen him on TV and was trying to hug the TV.
Aww, that's adorable.
And then afterwards, when she saw him, she just kind of lost it. And it was a great interaction about being a dad in the industry. And it was kind of funny because we're talking and everything, and he goes, "Hold on a second," and then he goes back on stage. and I was like, okay, go talk to the million people that are watching right now, million plus.
So that's funny. Where I was sitting in the 6th row, and I had a seat open for you because I was waiting, like because there were 2 seats available.
My bad.
and so I wasn't sure where you were, and like apparently like these 2 other guys had left, and so I went up to the guy, like the guard who was standing there, and I was like, "Hey, can I sit there?" And he was like, "I don't know, 2 guys left, but I mean if you take them, they're yours." I'm like, "Hell yeah!" So I did. And then the conference is about to start. I'm like, well, motherfucker, I guess Eric's not coming. So like this other guy sat down, and he happened to be like some reporter from I think it was Level Up or something in Spain. I don't know if he was even Spain, but he was typing. I saw him next to him, and he was typing in Spanish. And so at one point, like him and I were talking. We were discussing the whole thing. And when it got to the end, they invited all the Ubisoft people up on stage, and they all kind of just stood there, and they got a round of applause. And so me and the guy joked. We were like, there's no security guard there. We could just go up the stage. I don't think anybody would notice.
You just talk about your game that doesn't exist. I'm sure you'd be fine.
Yeah, right? I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm totally on the development team for...
Yeah. Pirates versus Rabbits. I mean, it's totally happening. So...
Yeah, it was just funny. Like, you saying about the stage reminded me of that.
It was really weird this year. Like, there's a lot of moments, I guess, because we're given more access this year.
Yeah,
we were. It's just like there's a deep part of it, like somewhere the back of your brain is like, I could just walk up on stage. There's a few moments that I've had that way this year too, so that was really weird. So we talked earlier on the other shows about the Xbox and all that kind of stuff, and those were really cool to hang out with people and whatnot. But
yeah, we've met a lot of people this year. I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like this year we got way more contacts than we did last. or the previous two?
It was constantly, and I kind of wonder because of the consumers being there this year, if that changed some of it.
Mhm.
It did, especially on the show floor this year. I hate because I've been in the back and forth on my opinion on the consumers this year, and I still think this year next year or whenever they decide to do this again, which I'm pretty sure they'll continue from here on out.
I'm sure that's how it's going to be.
Because if you walk around, you see like Natsume and a bunch of the other companies were starting to sell merchandise.
Mhm.
There was a big the thing that we usually go and buy all of our merchandise for E3 every year. They had a version of it right in the middle of both halls, so you could buy T-shirts and stuff. And so
That's cool.
my thinking, yeah, it is, but when you're press, it does make things harder. I had a really amazing interview that was going on, and it's something I've been working on for years. And I had someone walk in and go, "Hey, is this where I play games?" And
oh God.
and you're just kind of like, ow. And you don't want to piss them off because one, you have to remember, especially if you're anything to do with press, these people are your fans too.
Mhm.
Like these people can be your fans. These can be your readers. So you really don't want to piss them off.
Yeah.
And as publishers and these guys don't want to piss either one of us off. So my thinking is next year, extend it by 2 days, make the last 2 days, just make it more of a convention. They already have the panel up, all that kind of stuff. And then every developer, all of those guys just bring out mountains of merchandise to recoup the costs from the millions they've spent on these booths.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, because they definitely, I mean, and you think about it too, like for most consumers, getting off work to go to a video game convention is tough. And so having it on Thursday and Friday, it seems a little bit easier for them to do.
Yeah.
Or even like have it extend into Saturday and then people fly out on Sunday or whatever you want to do. And then have the Tuesday and Wednesday just for press. I mean, that would be perfect.
It would be amazing. And that's perfect amount of time. We get our stuff done. And if you want to stay around and participate with panels and all that kind of stuff, because it would switch to con mode at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I did see for the first time though, I did see cosplay this year.
I got a few pictures of cosplayers.
That was interesting. I did see lots of fidget spinners. That was also interesting. We talked about that on the last episode that Mixer was giving out fidget spinners.
By the way, I love how Mixer at Xbox was like a deal, I guess. They were like, you could do this at Mixer. And then they show like, I didn't watch the press conference, but we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I love how they had that giant like booth dedicated to Mixer. And I'm like, why isn't anybody up there presenting? Like, why isn't somebody up there and is just like, yeah, guys, I'm up here in the Mixer booth, here to talk to you about the next game. And you're just like, okay, I get it now. No, instead, they just built a thing in the Galen Center for no reason.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, they had an entire segment on the Xbox show where they were talking about games that were perfect for streaming, yet they didn't mention Mixer. And I understand part of that might be because, yes, they're pushing Mixer, but there still is a huge Twitch community that they have to support in a way, even though they don't want to, because it is advertising for their games.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was a really weird year this year in general with the consumers there, with there was stuff big that was shown, but it just didn't feel like a big year like previous years that we've been. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it just didn't feel like the last 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Like something about it just felt a little like lackluster in the reveal department.
Yeah, we knew almost everything.
Yeah. I mean, there were some surprises like Beyond Good and Evil. There's that, and then there was a couple of new IPs that were cool. I mean, Microsoft just completely underwhelmed. Sony was cool. I mean, essentially they only showed like maybe 10 games, and some of them looked great.
Some of them are essentially DLC. That was the one thing I was kind of. I mean, great. They're great. I'm excited to play them, but You wonder if they're saving Last of Us 2 for PSX. Granted,
I think so.
They're not going to show 2 Naughty Dog games back to back. That's blowing your wad essentially.
Yeah.
And but it was great watching them
they
give
did that at PSX, but
that's true. That's true. And you've also got Gamescom coming up, and that's.
I don't think they're going to show it at Gamescom. And the reason why I say that is because whenever they showed it at PSX, they even said, they were like, look, guys, this game is nowhere near ready.
Probably.
So what a difference a year can make. I mean, sure, it can be substantial, but for a game as big and as high quality as Last of Us 2, I can't imagine we're going to see much this year for it.
No, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately, too. No, it's not unfortunate, but we are getting the Uncharted game, so
which looks awesome.
It
I
does,
love what they did.
awesome. And there was some great stuff they showed at one of the theaters. Of course, no playable stuff. That was I had a lot of that this year too. God of War not playable, Uncharted not playable, but also,
I didn't expect God of War to be playable.
Yeah, it's too much. It's hard to make that vertical slice for something like that.
Well, not just that, but also consider the fact that they don't need to have a demo for it.
No, it's true.
You're gonna buy it.
Well, yeah, I've already pre-ordered Uncharted, so we're good there.
Well, no, we're talking about God of War.
Oh, okay.
One of the things, speaking of games, that the vertical slice thing, I did play a little bit of Crackdown 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw you put that on your list.
It was strange. It felt like Crackdown. It felt nice, and I loved Crackdown, especially 1. It feels a lot more like Crackdown 1. Thank God.
Oh, good.
It was nice to get on the buildings and jump and do all the, ground pounding and all that kind of stuff. But basically what they did was they gave a small area and let you play around in it. There wasn't really any story. There really wasn't anything. It almost felt like a tech demo is the best way I could describe it. So I can't get really deep into the gameplay other than it just felt like a really nice version of like an updated version of Crackdown. They did have a gun though that you could get, which was a black hole gun that would open up like a portal type thing and suck everything in. And cool. But it just felt like a really pretty tech demo right now, which was sad because I wanted to see a little more of how it played, if it's going to be exactly the same thing as the other one. But that was pretty cool though to see it, because I didn't expect to see it. And I think it's a year late already. So
yeah, well, that's cool though.
Unfortunately, again, with the consumers there, it was really hard this year to just even wait in line. I went to go see Yakuza the first day. I'm a huge fan of 6. I wanted to play 6, and granted, this year Sega really did show the love. They had an entire area for it.
Oh, cool.
Unfortunately, it was almost consistently a 3-hour wait.
Wow.
Oh, really?
And I don't know what happened, but right as I was leaving for my last day, I just happened to walk by and I talked to this guy before several times. He's like, "Hey, you want to jump on?" I was like, "Okay." So I got to play a little bit, but it's Yakuza. I mean, I can't really get too deep into it other than it's Yakuza.
It's Yakuza.
Yeah, they had like a marketplace type of thing, right?
Yeah. That was really cool.
Signs everywhere.
Yeah, it was different shops from the series. So unfortunately, again, those kind of games are terrible to play unless you get to sit down and play it for like 30 minutes somewhere. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, like in the back room behind everything.
Which there's a few games that we did get to play like that. Fortunately, you got to play Madden.
I did. Which is, I guess, not as prestigious as some of the other ones that you guys got to play.
I can just see you like, okay, here's my money now. You can give it to me, or
maybe a little bit. Like I'm gonna buy it, or either that or I'll get a review copy. But honestly, like my review of it was that it was the most broke game there. It was like this game is going to come out before FIFA, and FIFA felt like a more complete game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, granted, it's an alpha, but were we talking like 2 months from now?
Yeah.
And it's an alpha
August.
still?
Well, when
they have most of the template stuff available from like the last previous game, so it's not like they really have to do too much work. But on this one, they didn't have a lot of the playbooks installed. They didn't have a lot of the teams installed, so there weren't updated rosters. They didn't have it wasn't complete. And then a lot of the mechanics were just flawed tremendously. Like there were a couple times where so Aaron and I played together in a 3v3 game, and we had fun. We were beating the guys that we were playing against, and then they came back and they beat us on the second game. Well, after we played that, we decided, okay, well, Aaron and I will play one-on-one somewhere else. Well, we were waiting for I can't talk. We were waiting for a console to open, and I noticed that there were these guys who I recognized play Madden professionally. Because I watch a lot of the tournaments. Like I've been trying to get more into esports lately. So I was like, you know what? This guy doesn't have a challenger. So I challenged him, and him and I went one-on-one, and I was beating him. But because the mechanics were so flawed, like he was able to come back. I wasn't able to do much. And there were a couple times where I should have had a pick six. And he was like, yeah, I don't know why that guy dropped that ball. Like, I have no idea. That makes no sense. So, yeah, it was kind of annoying. I was really getting frustrated with this.
You were talking about FIFA. I know you and Aaron played FIFA too, didn't you?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. Anything different? I mean, I know the story mode continues.
Yeah, it continues, but they didn't have, like, there wasn't a playable storyline mode.
Okay.
Or actually, there might have been, but we were just focused on playing each other just to figure out the mechanics and everything. There were a couple things that, the shooting that was a little off, but again, it's understandable with where it was. But ultimately, it just felt smooth. It felt really good, the movements of it all. There were a couple of latency issues that I could tell, but they'll fix those later on. And I noticed they also had it on the Switch, and Aaron really wanted to play it on the Switch, but we ended up getting, we didn't have time to do it.
That's something, especially when I got to Shoe. When I got to go upstairs in the business offices, which was like the sanctum for press this year. This is like rats at the top of a ship as it was sinking. I noticed a lot more Switch stuff. I think there was like, okay, how quickly can we port this, or at least say we're going to put this on the Switch? I played. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I played Rogue Trooper from Rebellion, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's part of the 2000 AD series. The original version was released in, I believe, 2006. And in probably the next episode, I have an interview with the creative director about it. I'm a huge fan.
Or Rogue Squadron?
Rogue Trooper.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm a huge fan of 2000 AD, so it was amazing and it was really fun to play. But it's coming for the Switch, and
nice.
We had a really good discussion about. Apparently, it's pretty easy to port things over to the Switch.
Nice. Well, I mean, it makes sense because with everything getting into higher quality, I would assume that because of the fact that you have a lower quality system, that it would be easier to port.
It seems to be. Like, some of the stuff I was worried about, Nintendo has a tendency to make the architecture kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean the game, the Switch though now is Linux based, so it would be a lot easier as long as the game is Linux compatible to port it over.
It's essentially a really nice cell phone.
Yeah.
The Switch is.
Hey, that's how they get their mobile gaming done.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I did notice. There was a few a few places I noticed they'd actually added a sticker where it says Switch.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, I guess we have to add it.
I just want to say, like, I am hella proud of you, buddy. Like, I know, like, all the adversity you went through. I was, you know me, I was concerned. I wanted to make sure that you were all good. And, you know, you came out there and you were focused. You had a plan. You, like, succeeded in your plan. I mean, everything that was a concern, you were able to, like, overcome and kick ass. And dude, I am hella impressed. I am absolutely 100% proud of you, man.
Thank you.
Like, because it takes a strong man to go through what you did and come out how you did.
Thank you. It definitely felt like a baptism by fire. We, Aaron and I, in the previous episode, we talked about our Call of Duty experience about shooting the Disney Channel kid in the face over and over again. We made friends with a fellow podcaster, and I was looking at his Twitter, and he was mentioning that one of the people ushering people through line was calling the consumers undesirables in front of them.
Wow.
And I hope. Again, it almost took me getting back home to really process the experience of having this amount of people there. I mean, it was, when you got there the first day on Tuesday, there was the biggest line I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. What time did y'all guys get there?
Almost when it opens.
Yeah, see. Yeah,
well, that was the other thing too, is Uber was insane. Like, any kind of Uber or Lyft or anything this year, it was terrible.
Yes, it was the worst. I remember leaving Sony and, like, my phone was at 2% battery life. Mm-hmm. I remember leaving Sony and I was just like, screw it. I need a Lyft. I need to get out of here. You know, I got to go meet BC. Otherwise, I was going to be stranded. And I didn't know where you were at the time. So I just ordered the Lyft, got in, and then I met up with BC, and we're at Fat Sal's, and I look at my phone because my phone was finally, like, at a reasonably charged space, and it said $31 fare, and I'm like,
Yeah, the surge charge was just stupid. Like, I didn't have the money. I had a specific amount of money on my account. So a developer that will not be named, because I'm pretty sure, you know, whatever, we went into the CVS that was on the corner, and I charged up my phone on the photo printer machine, was looking at the same 3 pictures over and over again. It looked like I was editing them to print, and he got a beer. And we were sitting there waiting for the surge to drop, and it went from $25 back to the place I was staying to $5.
Wow.
And you know, it's almost to the point where the thing that they were fighting, taxis, was almost cheaper. I was looking at it. It was like I could have gotten back for $15 to the hotel.
Uh-huh.
So, but that was the game I played the most at E3 this year. Was
Uber.
The Uber, watch the Uber not get to you game and just drive around aimlessly. So it was weird this year. And it was everything was a lot more crowded, and there were moments where I did get frustrated, but I did get to play some good games. You played Battlefront, correct?
I did, yeah. I was one of the lucky few to actually play that damn game.
Yeah. I played Fend Off the Homeless. That was...
I kept looking around for you too. Like, I'm standing there in line, like, looking around. So I got to play Battlefront. So after I played FIFA and I played Madden, and then I was about to play that guy that plays competitive Madden, Aaron decided that he was going to go walk away and go play something else. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll meet you up when I'm done. He texts me, and I think he's at the line to get into Battlefront. He texts me and is like, oh, yeah, I'm at a bar across the street with a friend of mine. I'll be back. And
Wow.
so like now I'm waiting in line and I'm by myself because like, you know, BC wasn't able to get in. You had too much luggage to get in. Aaron was gone. And then Aaron was like, yeah, I decided not to wait in line to get back in. Instead, I decided to go back to Kelly's and go to sleep. I'm like, great. Okay. Then it's just me going stag for the rest of this time. 3 hours later, I'm finally about to play, and I was actually the last person in my group to be able to play Battlefront 2 because after me, they closed it down. And this was like around 7:45, and they were closing everything at 8.
Mhm.
So so it was cool. They didn't have you in the story. Instead, they had you play 20v20. And you got to play. We got to play the Battle of Keith, I think is what it's called. Theek, maybe. I can't even remember at this point. They let you play the Naboo mission, and it was the Separatists versus the Republic. Mm-hmm. And I was thrown into the Separatists, so I was one of the Roger droids. And so what was really cool, and how I really one of the things I first noticed was that, you know, there are the different classes. You have assault, you have heavy, you have I believe it's called like captain or something, and that's where you're like a buffer healer guy, and then you have specialist, which is, you know, a sniper. And I noticed that whenever you do well in the game, once you die, those points accumulate, and then like if you get enough points, you can come back as something better.
Nice.
So you can come back as like a droid ship. You can come back as like a different specialty droid, or you can come back as a hero. And I was a heavy guy for a while, and I just destroyed everybody. So I got to the point where I could play as Boba Fett because Darth Maul was already taken. So it was really cool playing as Boba Fett. The problem is that his targeting was really off. So you couldn't actually aim with the missiles. So that's something that I'm pretty sure they're going to fix later. Mm-hmm. But he was fun to play with. I had a lot of killing streaks with him. And once we got past the first phase, because the multiplayer was set up into 3 phases. You have the first phase where you're actually like storming the city. Then you have the second phase where you're taking the palace. And then you have the third phase where you're just overall, you have conquered the city. So by the third phase, I had enough points and I had the availability to play as Darth Maul. And oh my God, that dude wrecks shop. Like his powers are ridiculous. So they're the parts where he can dash from place to place, and he's looking like he's in the ballet and flying from one end of the room to the other, right, which was really cool.
Which Darth Maul?
Yeah, you know, Black Swan. And then there was another part where he has a force choke. Now, the force choke works in a certain area, and once you use it, if you're in that area, you're dead. It does not matter what it is, what kind of powers you have, how strong you are, you're dead. Mm-hmm. It's just you're gone, which was awesome. So I used it on like 3 troopers at one point. And then, like I said, the dude is a hoss. So at one point, there were these clone troopers coming in through this one door. And there, like I said, it's 20v20. So there were about, I think half of the team were coming through this one door. So I was just mowing them down left and right with my lightsabers. And it got so bad that I went outside of the map and I was killing them as they were respawning. And that's how I died, was because I kept killing them and I could not come back. So I ended up getting second place out of 40 people, which was really cool. But the game actually was a lot of fun. And with the way that they've announced that they are going to have free DLCs, free season passes, all of that, like, I'll be honest with you, I think I'm back. I think they won me over with Star Wars Battlefront 2. Like, I was burned with Battlefront 1. I still have that game, and I don't look at it. Like, I have it buried somewhere. And and now I think I'm okay. I think I'm into it. I'm more inclined to get Battlefront 2 because I think that they fixed a lot of the issues that Battlefront 1 had, and Battlefront 2 will be a much better game.
I had a awesome opportunity to play Bloodstain, which is the spiritual successor to Castlevania.
Dude, that game looks
cool.
Shit.
Yeah,
and you got to talk to Koji, right?
Yeah, that was.
I am upset with you, by the way, about that.
Yeah,
and it's not just that, the fact that you got to talk to like one of the most iconic guys ever. It's the fact that like you don't even have that as your profile picture. Like I don't know why, but that like really makes me annoyed that you don't have like a picture with Koji as like your profile picture. Instead, it's like you. It's just like
no, Koji.
It's
Koji. Okay.
Like
Koji.
I'm like, you have a picture, like. Show it off instead of you just being like, I'm in front of like some bushes. Yeah, look at me. I'm the Fathergamer. Like, nah, bro, you need to be with Koji.
Yeah, well, me and Koji hang out all the time. So
Okay.
It's no big deal.
I
MVP.
haven't seen this picture, or I don't know who this is. Who's Koji?
It's Koji Igarashi. He's like the guy behind Castlevania. He's the guy with the whip.
He had the whip in the head, the hat. Okay. Cool.
He left Konami before it was cool to leave Konami.
Yeah. He's totally the hipster about leaving Konami. The game itself was great. Like it feels like Castlevania. It's definitely that Metroidvania
Looks
sort
like
of.
Castlevania.
It does.
Just with
like
a female, like with a heroine.
Yeah, it's Sword or Whip. That's the tagline. And like I'm gonna get it. Like it's just it feels right. It feels like it should. The mechanics are great. The music is great, which I had a great discussion with Koji about it. But one thing I want to address is the Japanese game developers that all have props this year were amazing. Like I don't know how many. Like take note, Western developers, carry a prop of your game with you at all times because you had Oni and he carried Blanca.
Oh really?
With him.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, and then he had a whip.
I'm sorry, I know him as Yoshi.
Yeah, Yoshi.
So
Yes, we all hang out all the time.
Yoshinori. Dude, he was okay. So, quick aside, he was at Sony, and so I had two seats next to me, and like I saw him walking around, and I was like, hey Yoshi, you can come sit with me. And like he was already going in like another row, and I was like, no, Yoshi.
I love it. He was sitting in front of me, and we were like, hey, I got a pocket walker thing. You got one too? Yay! That was pretty much the most of our discussion. I noticed almost all of the Japanese developers too, the really big ones, all had one of those poke things like I have. So it's just like I was one of them at that point. That's what it was.
Did you and Aaron talk about how you snubbed one of the Tekken developers?
Yeah, we did on the last episode. I felt so crappy. Like it around you the whole time. There's big game developers. You're just not going to know who they are. And yeah, the guy for Tekken, the big Tekken guy, was sitting right next to him, and we're like, hey, it was almost the point of, hey, can you take a picture of us? To him. Yeah. It's like, can you hold my
really freaking funny.
Can you hold my up for a second while we take a picture?
Like the entire pre-show, like I'm pretty sure everybody at home was able to watch the pre-show for Xbox and they were having a good old time. The pre-show for us was watching Aaron try to figure out how he was going to get a picture with the Tekken guy. Like it was hilarious.
He never did. Poor Aaron. That was such a weird press. This is our first year to get into Xbox.
Yeah, it was.
And it was so different than the Sony one. The Sony one is I almost want to use the word regal. Like it just feels like you're going to some high class theater.
Yeah.
And Xbox is like you're bathed in the green. It's just
yeah, exactly. Well, there's that, and like I feel like just Sony is more giving. Like I feel like every other press conference that we went to, like they gave us stuff. They were like happy that we were there. Like EA, they gave us like they gave us snacks and they gave us that sort of thing. They were happy that we were there. Bethesda, they put on a whole party because we were there.
We went over that last episode, but that was
incredible party, absolutely amazing. And then you had other things. You had like Sony. They have like a whole event where you got to play games or mingle with Sony execs and stuff like that and eat food. Ubisoft, they had food trucks in the back. Like they did so many different things. And then you had Microsoft, who was like, all right, wait in line, come on in, and then you can go. Like that was it. And it's not like I feel entitled to get stuff, but like when everybody else is doing it, come on. Go ahead.
We kind of do. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
you do get that way as press, and that goes back to the whole consumer thing too sometimes. But it did feel weird, different than the other, especially when to get there, a lot of us have scrimped and saved and sold to get there, and that's our only food. So
yeah, and like this was around like lunchtime, or at least like it was late lunchtime, and they gave us all they gave us was just a little card thing that said Xbox E3 briefing. Like that was it.
Granted, we did get really good fried chicken afterward.
Oh, so good. You're right. Gus is world famous, man.
That place was amazing.
Yeah, but like, you know what I think it is? I think I know why they didn't give us anything. It's because they spent all of their money on building the Xbox One X and then getting exclusive rights to show us the 2018 Porsche 911 Turbo.
Yes, that was
because gamers want to see a car.
Yeah, exactly. I don't.
And then every 5 seconds, exclusive.
That's every Xbox briefing, every single one.
If Sony could get away with it, they would do it too. But actually, most of what they showed was exclusive.
It was.
So
it still bugs me, and I know you guys have already talked about it, but it still bugs me that Phil comes out and is like, guys, because Microsoft cares so much about gaming, we're giving you guys looks into 42 games, 22 of which are exclusives. And I'm like, hold up now. That's a little convoluted and misleading.
Yeah. I mean, I did see some games. Okay, one game I'm really curious about was the whole Conqueror-looking guy that was actually sweet. I can't remember the name of the...
Yeah, because we thought it was Bubsy.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. I can't remember his name either.
It just didn't look like something they would show in the middle of their Xbox conference. Like it
didn't fit.
One of the games I did really like was The Last Night, and there's a lot of controversy around that game, mostly around the developer, but it was really cool. And a few other games, but overall, I was just kind of like, meh.
Yeah, and I think what bugs me the most is that EA gave up their rights to show Anthem they gave up the right to show Anthem to Xbox. And that was their last thing. That was their last title that they were going to show. And usually the last title is reserved for an Xbox exclusive game. And Anthem is not Xbox exclusive from what I understand.
It's not.
So really? Like, I just don't understand that. Like, at that point, make Sea of Thieves your last one. I would have been far more okay with that one. But Anthem? Like, that's not even like one of their 1 year exclusive deals.
Yeah, I actually don't see any exclusivity to Xbox unless it's just waiting for later. But
maybe, but I think that's what bothered me the most was that you are giving us a new updated system, Xbox One X. Now you are supposed to give us a reason why we should spend $500 as the average consumer. Why should we spend $500 on what they're not necessarily calling a next-gen console? So I'm expecting you to really wow me and like give me exclusive Xbox One X titles, and that's not something that we got.
I got to play this game. It's made by Harmonix. It was kind of tucked in the middle of everything. It's Harmonix and Hasbro are making it. And it's a music-based game called Drop Mix. And I don't know if you guys saw anything on it, but they licensed a whole bunch of different musical acts, everything from Bruno Mars to The Clash to just different kinds of genres. And it's a card battling game that the first person to get 20 points wins. And it has this like deck setup of, I believe it's like 5 or 6 cards that you lay flat out, and each card has a chip inside of it, and it has a music like the like a Bruno Mars beat or U2 or whatever, and depending on the card you lay down, it'll start mixing automatically the music that is on the card. I don't know if I think I'm describing it very well. It's one of those. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Like, I'm trying to like think about it in my mind. So it's a card game that plays music.
Right.
That's kind of cool.
Well,
That's
essentially. Cool. And you plug in your cell phone, and it keeps tally, but it auto syncs the music to each genre. So you can put different genres down, and it actually mixes it really well. I didn't really get to play the game mechanic. That's the part I'm still very unclear about. But the tech itself, it was really cool. The fact that you could just lay down all these different stuff and kind of create your own music.
Yeah, the tech sounds awesome, but I'm trying to just understand the motivating force behind it.
Yeah, it shows in the video, and I'm actually getting the guys that are making the game. I'm getting them on the show in the next few weeks.
Oh, good.
And hopefully they can describe it a little bit better than I can. But it was kind of one of those things where it was like, hey, come in here, take a look at this. In between some other people, it was just kind of one of those things that happened, and I was just blown away by the tech itself. That was just something that the fact that you could lay down any kind of music and it was auto mixing it really well. That was such a cool thing, and kind of reminds me of, not quite to the same effect, but it kind of reminds me of when Guitar Hero first got shown off. Those guys were tucked in a corner somewhere, and they were just kind of ignored. And the next thing you know, for the next, was it like 4 or 5 years, it was like everybody got a plastic controller, a plastic guitar in their house.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't think it's going to be on that level, but I can see the tech being used, and the fact that Hasbro's backing it, it'll probably, I could see it getting some legs. They just got to explain exactly what it does better.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm kind of unclear on.
Sounds like a niche market.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's going to be a lot different than the Rock Band or the Guitar Heroes or anything like that, because anyone kind of knows what a plastic guitar can do, or a microphone, or all this kind of stuff. I mean, you're going to have to get people to buy into buying these cards, and it looks almost like a board game.
Interesting.
That's cool. Packaging stuff. So.
It's funny that you say that, because like you're talking about Rock Band, and it reminds me of our first year at E3, when you and we were going around to all these different meetings, and one of them was with G Cluster, and it was the Greek people, and across from
people.
I'm going to Greece. In a couple of weeks, so I've actually been considering emailing them and being like, "Hey, I'm going to be in town. What's up?"
There will be a parade for you.
Oh my god, I know. Yeah. They're going to wait for me at the airport. Yeah. So like, I remember though that across from them they had I think it was Guitar Hero, and they had like this giant, loud, like blaring loud concert set up where they had everybody coming in and you could play Guitar Hero and have a good old time. And it was kind of like that hair band rock, and everybody was like, yeah, and going nuts. And so I remember trying to do like an interview with these Greek developers. I was like, oh man, it's so great to talk to them, having a great interview, and they were loving me. And then all of a sudden it was just like, and you're like, oh god, okay.
It was the equivalent to the guy this year walking out, I've brought my games. Like, it was pretty much the equivalent. Except theirs was sanctioned. I had to get to the airport. And of course, with everything running the way it was, Uber, whatnot, the surge thing happened. And it went from $16 to get back to the airport to almost $50.
Yep.
Yeah. And I did not have $50 at that point. So I went a little farther down. It was still really high. I unzipped my suitcases and started selling my swag.
Did you really?
Yeah, I sold almost half of my swag to get back to the airport so I could get there on time. So I could get there on time.
Oh no!
And then they delayed my plane three times.
That's horrible.
So, but I kept my Stein. I kept my Stein. That's all
good.
Yeah,
that's good. Did you sell all of your Bethesda pins?
No, and I hear those are going for like $20 a piece. So
which is ridiculous, and I'm kind of like disappointed now because like I don't know if you saw, but on Facebook I gave my brother his favorite pin,
the Elder Scrolls,
the Elder Scrolls one, and then I gave him the Fallout one because that's my niece's like favorite thing is Fallout, which is weird because she's like 7 years old, and so I was like, well, there goes that set.
Well,
goodbye, $500.
Well, we messed up anyway. We thought there was 7. There was 8 pins. So.
Oh, I did have all 8. Sorry.
Did you? Okay. I had 7. I still have 7, but I
don't know which one you're missing.
I'm hoping if I go to Quake this year, I'm just going to go bag. That's basically what I'm going to do for that. But
were you missing the Evil Within 2?
No, I got that one. I got that one.
Okay, because I have a double of that one. I could have just sent it to you.
No, I don't know. Let me look first before I say that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that happened. But you know what? They're just things, and we had amazing experiences this year. Matt, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Move the Joystick, and you can also find me on Thursday nights at SCNS Live. It's at 8 o'clock on YouTube.com/SCNS Live. You can also find me on Nerd Interference every other Saturday. I'm on Channel Control with Rob. It's his brand new TV show that he does for Cinelinks. I'm also on What the Force podcast, which is every Friday night at Nerdvana, the Frisco location. That is a giant nerd bar that is pretty amazingness. And then I'm also working on a couple of other new shows, so stay tuned for that.
Cool. And Mike, they can find you at Silverhawks No Vowels.
Correct. SLVRHWKS on most everything.
Okay. Hey guys, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. This is an awesome thing I get to do on a weekly basis, and I'm eternally grateful for your support. I'm eternally grateful for all the listeners. I mean, this year I signed autographs at E3. It was an amazing experience, and I want to continue growing as a podcaster as well as working on the stuff that I'm working on too now. So any suggestions, anything at all from you guys, try not to be mean, but I know it's the internet. I really, really enjoy doing this show, and it's a pleasure. I hope you guys enjoyed as well. So another thing, we have a bunch of interviews. We did a lot at E3. They're going to be trickling out closer to when the games launch. And we're also looking for other people to interview. Something I like to interview, if you've listened to the show before, is people that are doing Kickstarters. I want to talk to any developers. I want to talk to anyone that's working on something creative. And I'm open. Just message me on Twitter. That's the easiest way, at Fathergamer. You can also find me on Instagram at Fathergamer. You can find me pretty much anywhere as Fathergamer. You can also find the show at iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play Music, and a bunch of other things. And you can can also find us on cineworks.com. So guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for being awesome. And remember, achieve greatness.